Hey everybody, welcome back to the sixth round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host, as always, the inimitable, the ineffable, the indescribable Eddie Mercado.
Zane, what's happening, brosa?
I'm just coming off watching this UFC 246 fight card here from Las Vegas, and I feel lots of different ways. I am filled with a tumultuous whirlpool of emotion.
Yeah, like the card it's like you get finishes, but it's like a sloppy ass main card, right?
Yeah.
The co-main event sucked, but the main event was exactly what we thought it was going to be. So it's like cool, but cool.
I mean, and the biggest thing here to know is that every single person in the UFC front office is just like breathing the biggest sigh of relief right now.
Oh, for sure.
They set up, yeah.
Another Conor loss would have been devastating for the company. And, Cerrone, he could have only gotten so big with a win, right?
Yeah.
He could have only done so many things. But Conor with the win, like there's a million different possibilities of who he can fight next. And whoever it's going to be a big freaking deal.
We are seeing Donald Cerrone. I mean, the reason Donald Cerrone got this fight at this point is that even with a couple of recent losses to Gaethje and Ferguson, for like the past 2 or 3 years, Cerrone has been at the height of his notoriety. More people know who Donald Cerrone is now at this point than any other point in his career. I don't think, even a win, it's been, he's been doing this for 15 years, 14 years now. Even a win isn't going to like rocket him to some new level. He's already at that level of Donald Cerrone stardom. He's got the Budweiser sponsorship. He's got, I think a couple other sponsors too, notable sponsors. He's headlining cards. Conor McGregor had to win this fight because there are 3 bigger fights waiting for him around the corner for the rest of 2020. And the only way any of those get made is with a win tonight.
Yeah. So he delivered and he looked phenomenal. He looked absolutely phenomenal, physically phenomenal at the weight. He looked solid. He looked filled out, and his performance was just explosive from start to finish. And it was a sporty 40 seconds.
Yeah. No, it was the perfect fight. It was the perfect fighter for him to start fast again. And he started as fast, if not faster, than he ever has before. So, anyone looking to criticize Conor McGregor's performance coming into this fight, waiting to see, will he be rusty? Will he look like he's lost a step? Will he look like he's been doing too much coke? Whatever. That's not what we saw in the cage. He looked sharp.
And we saw a glimpse of it in the press conference and just how he handled himself in the lead up to this fight. He looked rededicated to the sport, and his performance, lines up with that.
Yep. And, that means now that there's a fight with Jorge Masvidal out there waiting for him. There's a fight with the winner of Khabib Ferguson out there waiting for him. There's maybe even a fight with Kamaru Usman out there waiting for him. And, especially the thing with the Masvidal fight is, you can make that Masvidal fight after the Khabib rematch or the Usman fight or anything else if you wanted to, and it would still be just as big, even off a loss, because he's already started the year with this huge dominating blitzing win that's going to be the thing that really sticks in people's memories for the immediate future.
Yeah, number one for me is the Masvidal fight. It's like the most violent possibility. I want to see it. Both guys are brutal finishers. I want to see him fight Justin Gaethje. I do.
Yeah.
That's pure violence for me. Kamaru Usman is very, very low on that list in terms of just being a fan.
Yeah.
It's not exciting for me.
No, I get that, and I would be surprised if that were the fight I would be shocked if that were the fight that happens. Even Jorge Masvidal doesn't want to fight Kamaru Usman, and that's for the belt that he's in position for. Yeah.
It's just not exciting. And it's I almost feel bad for Kamaru Usman because he's so dominant. And in his last fight, he stood and banged it out. But let's be honest, he's not going to. That's an outlier. I can't expect Usman to ever do that again in a fight.
No, and it was a. I mean, that's such a weird outlier too, just because it sounded like Usman was like, I really expected Colby Covington to come out and wrestle, and it's like, I mean, Colby does wrestle, but if you watched him fight, he mostly has been going out and trying to just put a ton of volume on people and just kind of work yourself into a shoot there. But it worked out for him, so you can't argue with the results. But anyway, back to this Conor McGregor Donald Cerrone fight. Marvelous performance from Conor McGregor. Can't take a thing away from him for that. I will say though, somebody else mentioned it before the fights tonight, and I had been feeling it, and I hadn't quite put a voice to it, but I'd been feeling it, and the moment somebody else said it, I was like, yes, this is exactly what it feels like. Cowboy did really just seem kind of happy to be there in the lead up.
I mean, but like that's just Cowboy though. He's always just happy to be there, right?
Yeah, maybe that's
it. And if he wins, he wins, and if he doesn't, he doesn't. I really feel like this was just Conor being Conor and Cowboy being Cowboy. Like he's a slow starter. Like he has to get hit to wake up, and you can't get hit by Conor to wake up because you're going to go to sleep.
Yeah. No, there is that too. But it just, especially like the whole buddy vibe during the fight, the press conferences and all that, like it really felt like the underlying thing there was that like Cerrone was glad, he was happy that Conor McGregor was doing him this favor, and Conor McGregor was happy that Donald Cerrone was doing him this favor.
I mean, yeah, it was very symbiotic.
Yeah.
And it made sense. And for me, being a longtime Cowboy fan since the WEC days, was so excited to see him get this payday because who else deserves it? Like he's been a company man through and through. Who has more short notice fights than Cowboy?
No, absolutely. He's going to make bank out of this, and that'll be great for him. And it's especially great for him because, as he said afterward, he's just going to keep fighting forever. So
yeah.
Bank those paydays while they happen.
And what I liked about this performance from Conor was he knew he had to start fast, like he always does, but like extra fast. Yep. But he showed new layers, like those shoulder punches. Those were phenomenal. I have never seen more effective shoulder punches in MMA my entire life.
It's true.
Like those were the most effective to date.
We have seen people use it before. We've even seen people like rough people up with it a little bit before. John Jones has done it. Anthony Pettis, I think somebody mentioned, had done it a couple times. But it's never been a turning point in any of their fights that I can remember.
It's always been like synonymous with the foot stomp, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're not really effective, but just like an aggravating move on the inside to advance you to the next position or the next sequence.
Yeah. It's one of those moves that tells you that the guy doing it is just an absolute bastard. And I don't mean that in that in a really mean way, but just in that he's just the kind of person who will, at any chance he gets, will be doing something to make you miserable because it's a fight and the goal is to be doing something to make your opponent miserable at all times. There's none of that brotherly, handshakeness in the cage for a person who does that kind of thing. It's like John Jones headbutting people in the chest when he used to be in their guard. He used to do that all the time. And it's just the kind of thing. It's like you're not gonna win a fight doing that, but you've got the position. You might as well hit him.
Yeah, it's good. Head kick. Good Lord.
Yep. Yeah.
I was watching this fight with a lot of people, and there was a lot of Cerrone fans, and they were like, "Oh, Cowboy, he took a dive, he threw the fight," and I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
No.
It's rocked, and that kick landed in the point of the back of the jaw. You can't get any better than that.
I do want to clarify to that point too. When I'm saying that I got the very much Cerrone was happy to be there vibe, I don't mean Donald Cerrone took a dive or didn't prepare.
Right.
It's just that it felt like he knew what the score was walking in, and he was the biggest thing for him was being there and getting paid like that. It was not winning this fight. It was, I've gotten this amazing chance to go out and get paid. And
honestly, when I had my Muay Thai fight in Thailand, that's kind of how I felt. I was just excited for the opportunity. Of course I wanted to win, but that wasn't really my main focus. Like I was so happy to just be a part of it and have that chance to do it, that the experience was bigger than winning it. And like my upcoming fight though is completely different. Now I'm like going out for the dub. So like there's different mindsets and like a different kind of ferocity and approach when you're in that state of mind. So I know what you mean. Like he's kind of always been like that though.
There's a certain part of it that's always been like that, but I mean it's also the kind of thing where Cerrone's definitely at his best when he's just in camp all the time and fighting all the time, and the fighting is just a regular part of the camp, and he's not like, you can tell he's not thinking about the fight, but it's not like not thinking about it in a like, oh, I'm happy to be here. I'm not thinking about the fight, winning or losing the fight, but it's just like, oh, I'm at work and this is another work day and this is how work goes and this is what I do.
Yeah.
I think that's two different people, and it always has been for Donald Cerrone. It's always why his big fights are always his worst performances, his biggest fights, because it's always like, I think there's a mentality shift in there of like, going from the, oh, I'm just showing up for another fight that I've got six this year to complete, and then there's the I've been waiting 2 or 3 or 4 months for this fight, and it's the biggest fight, and I'm really just happy to get this huge opportunity. Yeah,
I see what you mean. That makes sense.
Either way, Conor McGregor walks out with a performance bonus for his knockout win. One of 5 fighters on the card to get a performance bonus. No fight of the night, but a bunch of people walking away with extra checks for getting quick submissions and knockouts. I'll say especially that's awesome to see. Alexei Oleinik got one, Ferreira got one, and but I'm especially glad to see that Drew Dober and Brian Kelleher both picked up bonuses, because I get the feeling they're a little like they were much lower on the profile of this event.
Like, that's great, and I agree with all that. But like, Roxanne Modafferi didn't get a performance bonus. Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, you get performance. I know you should be able to get a performance bonus for a decision. And as diehard Roxy fans, yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on that. They should have paid Roxy too. But
yeah,
I'm honestly just ecstatic that Roxanne Modafferi picked up this win, because it's a win that almost nobody saw her getting.
Yeah, she was the largest betting underdog coming into this fight, or coming into this card. So huge upset, a big parlay buster, and she just completely outclassed Barbara. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah, enemy of Roxanne Modafferi, enemy of every gambler tonight, except for the 10 people that bet on her, to which she is a legend.
Exactly.
But we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get that to a bit right now. Let's talk about this bantamweight co-main event briefly. Holly Holm, Raquel Pennington 2. And unfortunately, this went the way I thought, which was just that Pennington... Holm has become a good enough wrestler in the past few years that Pennington could no longer push her around, out-muscle her in any way. And that meant Pennington had to rely purely on her range boxing skill to outwork Holly Holm, and just wasn't going to happen.
Man, I knew this was going to be a dud. Like, I didn't really think it was going to spend as much time in the clinch as it did.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought it was going to be just a lot of volume without a lot of connecting, and at least a lot busier. So kind of giving the illusion of like a better fight. But man, it was a really grueling slog of a clinch war that Pennington just didn't seem ready for.
Yeah, we should have kind of seen that coming, considering the fights that Holm had with Cyborg and Anderson even, and Durandamy, all fights where she just leaned heavy on her clinch game to get the work done.
I mean, credit to her for evolving as a fighter and coming in for, being a boxer, kickboxer, and now is pretty much a grinder.
Yeah, but not really the evolution you want to see as a fan, No,
not fan friendly at all. But someone was trying to go ahead.
I was actually kind of happy that they made this fight. It just shouldn't have been a co-main. it's okay for it to be boring. It's okay for it to not be great. It had some meaning to it, at least, just because of the narrative between them. But as a co-main, it was really doing this fight a disservice.
Yeah, it just wasn't cool. I think Ferreira and Pettis should have been the co-main, personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I really was not excited for this fight. And people kept asking me about it. I'm like, I'm not excited. And they're like, oh, but Holly Holm, she head kicked Ronda Rousey and she head kicked Bethe Correia. And I'm like, so? It's like, yeah, put her in there with someone who can't strike, and yeah, she'll probably come up with a head kick knockout. But like, Rocky can strike well enough to where that's not going to happen.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. Like, I'm glad the book's been closed on it. You know, tough out for Pennington. If she could have picked it up, it'd be the biggest win of her career, and it was a huge chance for her to get that highlight. She didn't, and that's it's at least an interesting narrative in that way. But co-main, it really dragged, and it dragged especially because it came after a couple fights that just weren't very meaningful. We'll get to them now. Alexei Oleinik, Maurice Green, also not really a main card fight. More fun than I was expecting, just because it lasted longer and stayed sloppier. But,
yeah.
You know, all credit to Oleinik for doing exactly what I feared, which was gassing out in like 3 minutes, and then somehow still being able to win this fight.
Yeah, like really putting his all into that scarf choke, blew his arms out.
Yep.
And being over 40. You know what's crazy? Vic Rodriguez and I did a 6th round retro for Yama Pit Fighting 1, which happened back in 2008, which Alexei Oleinik was on, actually.
Yep.
Like, looking all babyface and everything. And here he is, 2020, you know, a ranked heavyweight, picking up another submission win. Like, this was his 72nd MMA fight.
Mike Bond pointed it out over on Twitter during the fights. And it's honestly pretty much about the coolest MMA record out there, really. Alexei Oleinik has become the first fighter in MMA history to pick up wins in 4 different decades.
Wow. Yeah, he started in 96.
The 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and now the 2020s. And since it's just, you know, a couple weeks into 2020, you know he's the first. Like, you know nobody else has done it.
Yeah. Tito's right behind him.
That's true.
Unfortunately.
Tito just missed. But
yeah, that's impressive.
4 decades of MMA success.
But like he continues to be the IQ test, like we always say. You know, Green knows, he should have known at least that he needed to keep this standing. And like there was a moment where he had that Kimura lock, and it's like, you're not going for this, dude. Like, not only should you not be going for this, but you should not be trying to use this. Like, you should be using this to get up.
Yeah.
You should not be using this to, like, actually try to get it or find top position or, like, whatever. Like, get up, stand, separate,
Oleinik
piece him up.
Pure distilled old man strength. You don't try to beat him with superior levels of old man strength.
Yeah, man. This was a great win for Oleinik. Maurice Green has got to be frustrated and disappointed and heartbroken, probably.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he has youth, he has size, he had a lot on his side that should have won them the fight, but he could not help himself from getting into the quicksand.
No, and I mean, that's the thing, too, that I remember breaking this down. I'm talking about this on the Vivi, and I was like, he's a heavyweight with 5 submission wins and 2 knockouts. Like, it's just not going to happen for him against Oleinik. That's not the dude that's going to beat him, you know?
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is heavyweight, so...
And, hey, I am happy to watch Oleinik just completely continue to be a gatekeeper for every young heavyweight that wants to run up that division. Like, he can, if he can do that until he's 50, that will be hilariously fun.
Yeah. I'm the only downside though is like when he loses, it's really hard to watch.
Oh yeah, I mean he's still a dude who's gotten progressively more fragile and will gas out incredibly fast. So when he gets tuned up, it's fast and violent. All right.
Yeah.
That brings us to a bantamweight bout. Brian Kelleher, O'Day Osborne. And man, Kelleher, he will start super fast, and it's either like he's either going to put himself in trouble instantly, or he's going to win instantly. And if the fight goes long, he'll get better as it goes. But he loves to just throw himself into danger in the first couple minutes, and worked out for him here.
Yeah, I was a little concerned, honestly.
Yeah.
Osborne came out looking sharp. Like his kicks are lightning quick. His jab is super fast. I was like, oh no, Kelleher might be getting pieced up here. I felt like Osborne was like a little open for the overhand right. And I was like, well, Kelleher is willing to throw it. Maybe he's going to connect with it. But, man, he shot in and got that takedown. And I was like, okay, good on Kelleher here. And then he like forced that guillotine. Like that was beautiful. And like when I saw him pulling guard, I was like, no, you're not pulling guard here. But then I saw that he had the arm trapped inside the guard, and I was like, oh, okay. And then Osborne was forced to tap with his foot, which is the sadistic side of me likes to see.
Yeah, no, that was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean that it was a very bad matchup for Kelleher that we just seen him experience the same kind of matchup with Montel Jackson, who absolutely just destroyed Kelleher instantly. And so I was worried about the same thing happening. Like Osborne has 8 inches of reach on him. It's very fast, can do some sniping. But good on Kelleher for knowing exactly where he needed to control this fight and how, and then especially getting to a grappling position. And like he even said, like just feeling once he got there how much more technical and powerful he was than Osborne, and just pushing straight through to a submission, just kind of hossing through it since he felt like he had the advantage, and led to a big bonus for him. So good on him.
Yeah, he's still at Contender Series gatekeeper.
Yeah. Well, yeah, unfortunately, this will at least, bump him back up to a Contender Series fighter coming off a win, maybe.
Yeah, and I mean the performance bonus is definitely a good look too. Someone with the kind of record that Kelleher has, 20-10. It's not exactly impressive. Doesn't really look good on paper, but it's good to see him in the UFC. And like, because he had a rough start to his career. Like he picked up a lot of losses early and then strung together a couple wins to get in the UFC, and had some mixed results against better competition. But he's finding a home.
At least judging by his UFC 232 salary in California, he probably made about $110,000 for this fight. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's good to see for guys like that. That brings us to a lightweight bout. Diego Ferreira, Anthony Pettis, and I mean, I saw a lot of people who are out there like, man, Pettis just doesn't have it anymore, and like, oh, this was just like a really especially bad showing. I'm just like, this is also just a shockingly bad matchup for Pettis all the way through. That's really what it is. Like,
I thought he looked good. Like that first round, like he was doing great, tuning him up, striking off the back foot. But like the pressure that Ferreira brings and the willingness of Pettis to back up is like a recipe for disaster.
Like we just saw Ferreira walk through multiple bombs from Mairbek Taisimov, pressuring constantly. It's just one of those where it's like, you just know, it's like, yeah, Pettis might land some good shots. It's going to look sharp. But we've seen Pettis under this kind of pressure in fights, and it doesn't work.
Nah. So, I mean, I'm surprised that he was able to get out of that back take there in the first round. When Ferreira pushed off the cage like a G and took the back. I was like, oh no. Yeah. And like one of my training partners was like, oh, there's different levels to black belts. There's different levels. And I was like, yeah, there is. But Pettis managed to scramble out. But I was just like, in the back of my head, I'm like, man, how many times can he do that, though?
Yeah, and that's the thing, too, is that, like, it happened against Dustin Poirier for him, too, where he spun out, like, twice and then ended up with a rib injury and had, retired TKO via rib injury or doctor stoppage rib injury. And against Ferreira, like, when that choke went in, you could see it wasn't like super, super deep under the chin, but Pettis looked really pained as he got stretched out there.
Yeah.
And tapped pretty fast. And that's been the big story more than anything for the past few years. It's just that he's getting hurt all the time. Some fighters, they get easier to, they get chinny, they get easier to knock out. Pettis is still one of the toughest dudes when it comes to taking a shot out there ever.
Yeah.
But
his body's just brittle.
Yeah, he's had so many fights now that have had to be stopped because of various injuries, and he's just had so many injuries he's picked up over the years in training that it just seems like his body can't keep up with the kind of punishment that he's putting it through for how susceptible to pressure he is, because he's always going to be in that war. He's always going to be getting beat up, and his body just can't take it.
Honestly, I'm surprised he even took this fight.
I was shocked.
Like, I feel like he should have been in a more high profile fight. And like, it's not that I'm not saying Ferreira isn't good and on the rise, because he is, he's on a streak now, but like, look at who he's coming off fights against: Nate Diaz, Stephen Thompson, Tony Ferguson. Like, yeah, I feel like he should be, he should have been fighting, I don't know, a bigger, I don't want to say money fight, but just someone more, I don't want to say seasoned either, because Ferreira's seasoned, but someone who's like been there, done that, like a Cowboy rematch, or like just a bigger name fight than Ferreira.
Basically, Pettis has been a quality lately, at least, with a couple of exceptions like Jim Miller and Michael Chiesa. Pettis has been a quality B-side for other big name opponents. Tony Ferguson, Stephen Thompson, Nate Diaz, co-maining events, main eventing cards. Here, suddenly he's like all A-side pay-per-view opener against a fighter that, Diego Ferreira is good, and this is going to do great things for Ferreira's career. It's a big step for him to, he's going to get top 15, top 10 opponent next easy.
Yeah.
But there was no upside here for Pettis. Ferreira is totally unknown to your average fan tuning in.
By far.
And
like, more so than anyone he's fought in a while.
Yeah.
Like more so even than like time.
More so even than like Michael Chiesa, who at least was a tough winner. Like, you have to go all the way back to like
Joe Lozon, maybe.
No, like Shane Roller, to get somebody that was just that far off the map.
And that's WEC. You're talking about WEC 2010 Anthony Pettis.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. It was such a obscure matchup. Like, it just blew my mind that he even signed up for this.
I mean, I'm super glad he did. All credit to Pettis for being for being hard as nails about this and being willing to take on all comers and being willing to take on a fight that had no upside for him. Yeah. But it did not pay off.
No, and I'm honestly surprised to see him go back to featherweight or to lightweight.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to stick it out at welterweight, but
yeah, he was having success there, at least a little.
Yeah, he's knocking out Stephen Thompson. That's pretty exceptional.
Yeah. So really rough loss for Pettis, but for Ferreira, sets him up for something good. My guess is he'll end up facing somebody like Islam Makhachev or
oh my goodness.
Alex Hernandez, but I would love to see him be able to get a fight with like Ally Quinta or even Edson Barboza off of a win like this.
All of that is excellent. I'm so down for that. Or even like Charles Oliveira.
Yeah. Well, Oliveira is booked now against Kevin Lee, but he could fight.
Yes, that's what's up. That's exciting.
Yeah, I know. I love that fight. Still, gutsy call for Pettis to decide to take this fight, but there's a reason that even heading into even during our fight week doing breakdown, I was like, I even said I'm shocked Pettis took this fight, and this is why you sometimes don't make the gutsy call.
Yeah. Oh, well.
That brings us to the real main event, the absolute high point of the card, the only fight really worth talking about.
That's right.
Roxanne Modafferi beating Macy Barber, massive underdog. I'm just got to check the odds here one last time, see where they closed.
I think it was minus 1,000 for Barber.
Barber closed on the average at minus 912, as low as minus 1,000. And Modafferi closed at the average of plus 590, as high as plus 650.
That's nuts. Talk about an upset.
This was a huge upset. Like, you know, the last time Modafferi really beat a young athletic prospect like this, I mean, I know she beat Antonina Shevchenko, but even Antonina Shevchenko is 35. You know, the last time was like Andrea Lee back in 2014. Otherwise, you know, you match Roxy up with Nico Montano, Sahara Eubanks, other fighters like Raquel Pennington back in 2013, other fighters like that, and usually better, bigger athletes have beat her. And I was, you know, everybody came in with that mindset. I came in with that mindset, and I love Roxy. I've spoken to her. I've worked with her. She's fantastic. I was still just like, man, this is going to be rough. How is she going to do it? And it turned out she was actually just, I mean, and I realized that it turned out she was actually technically better than Barber at anything, or at everything. And I know the injury played a big part, but the big thing was really that she was just a better striker than Macy Barber by a long way.
Yeah, didn't she drop her with a jab? It was a jab.
Caught her jumping in.
That's brilliant. I love when people get dropped with the jab.
Yeah.
It's like the jab is so underutilized in MMA. So when someone actually throws it and they drop somebody, it makes it that much more sweeter.
Yeah. And the thing, like, because, you know, Macy Barber, yeah, she tore her ACL. We got that instant doctor diagnosis, wildly.
That was weird.
Yeah, super weird. But the thing, like, the reason Barber was getting wild and the reason she ended up hurting her leg is that Modafferi was kind of dialing her up from distance.
This was an outclassing, a complete outclassing.
Completely.
And against someone who had so much momentum and steam, you know, going into this fight, that I wonder if she overlooked Modafferi here.
I think she must have.
Because she looked lost on the ground.
Yeah, well, I mean, that part of it is that Barber's never been put on her back before. She'd never faced anyone who could even wrestle with her a little. So
she kind of looked lost everywhere, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it's a prospect who has relied almost entirely on her physical gifts up to this point. And then suddenly, I think, you know, with an injury, like suddenly those physical gifts, you realize you can't depend on them. And you just have to depend on your technical ability. And that's when all the experience comes to bear.
Yeah. I mean, she ran into a salty dog veteran, and she just didn't seem prepared for it.
No, and Modafferi was perfectly prepared. Like, that camp, Syndicate, John Wood, all those people that she's working with, they're absolutely, you know, you can see that they're really doing a great job getting her in the right frame for her fights. So
this was good to see.
Yeah.
And like she beat her up.
Yeah.
She was I don't even know what strike it was that cut her open, and I think it happened when Roxy was on the bottom.
It was a big elbow. With first time she got into mount, she landed a big hard elbow, and then Barber swept her off of it. But Roxy got back up after that, and it didn't matter.
Yeah, but huge win for Roxy.
Yeah,
here.
Giant win, and hopefully, I'm kind of hoping that Modafferi could maybe get a fight with Jessica Eye off of this.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I'll watch Roxy fight anyone. It's like she's got like a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, and Ai's the kind of fighter, too, who's got a pretty high profile at this point. She's been in a title fight. She just beat, Jennifer Maia. No, Maia beat Chookagian. No, Chookagian beat Maia, rather. Who did Jessica Eye just beat? Damn it. Vivi Araujo. That's right. I just beat Vivi Araujo, so she's still sitting there as like, this top 2, top 3 fighter in that division, but there's no way she's getting a shot at Valentina Shevchenko. So
she did beat Chikagian, but that was before she lost.
That was a while ago.
Yeah.
She beat Vivi Araujo just now.
Yeah, like, why not? They're both, going from a loss to a win. Why not?
Yeah.
You know what? If nothing would make me more happy than seeing Roxy get a crack at the title.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That's why she should fight Jessica Eye. Give her a path to the belt.
Like, she's got all the fights in the world. Like, you might as well. Like, it's kind of like now or never.
Yeah. So, great to see.
It's not like there's too much going on in that division, to be quite honest.
No, I know. Right
Considering
now,
who's at the helm.
We're looking at what who's our top contenders bout, and
it's Chikagian and.
Yeah, Chikagian's fighting for the belt, and then the fight lined up to be like a top contender fight after that. It doesn't even really exist, honestly.
No,
there's nobody else really lined up for that next potential title shot. So,
and that's the thing. It's pretty much like Barbara was the one who was like making the run.
Yeah. Yep.
So
she was the one talking about being the UFC's youngest ever champ. Not going to happen now.
No.
So, huge win for Roxy. Could not be happier for her. Apologize profusely for not picking her going into this, but I'm happy. I couldn't be happier to be proved wrong, man. Brings us to a featherweight bout. Sodiq Yusuff, Andre Fili. Hell of a good fight.
Oh yeah.
Just a wild fight everywhere. Fili had his moments. He poured it on late as Yusuff got tired and started to kind of coast out on the back foot. But he just could not compete with Yusuff's power early.
And it's not just the power, but it's the technique. Like, Sodiq really knows how to throw his strikes and when to throw them. Like, he's something special, man. Like, he really is. And his ground game is really not far behind his stand-up.
No, this was a great test for him because it's absolutely the first time he's ever faced a fighter with any kind of takedown threat at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good to see he could bounce right back up every time he got taken down. He got taken down a lot, so it's something to work on. But
he's got
not getting held down.
That he has that mindset that the second he hits the deck, he's instantly giving everything, fighting for his life to get back up. Like, he's not going to concede and try to play guard. He's going to do what he has to do to get up, and I love seeing that.
Yep.
And he can control from the top, which was also cool, and threaten with submissions and control and make someone just have to stay under him.
Yep.
Like, seeing that kind of control is great, especially out of someone who, we kind of think of as a striker because he is so powerful and he is so athletic.
Yep.
So when you have that kind of combination, like, that's a winning formula.
Yeah, he's still got to work on some of his pocket defense isn't as polished as he thinks it is, which is why like you see him bombing on Fili and then in the middle of it just getting absolutely clubbed and having his legs go out from under him.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good chin though.
He's got a great chin. He's got some stuff to work on, but beating Andre Fili is the kind of fight that, it's the kind of win that will get you into the top 15 in that division. And, it's a really pretty win, especially for Fili, who's looked great lately and even looked good in this fight. Like, he looked outgunned, but he fought really hard to push his way back into it and win it late.
Yeah, I wonder why Yusuff was so content to coast there in the third. I wonder if he was just tired.
I think it's pace. Partially the pace and partially being tired. And it's just something I've seen from him in all of his bouts. Like, he likes to counter off his back foot, but when he does that, he tends to back straight up to the fence. And he tends to kind of work the Tyron Woodley game, where he'll just kind of get on the fence and try to fire off the fence. And it leaves him really open to taking strikes. Like, Gabriel Benitez caught him a lot there. Shaman Moraes caught him a lot there. and he's been able to find answers and find these huge power punches off his back foot to help even the score and balance that out. But when he's on his back foot, he definitely gets hit a lot.
Yeah. Like, I think Yusuf's ready for, like, a top 15 guy.
Yeah. You know who I kind of want to see him against?
I'd watch him against Ryan Hall. I think
that's exactly what I was thinking.
It's like it's like, okay, you're a Team Lloyd Irvin guy. Say what you want about Lloyd Irvin, whatever, but the dude knows how to grapple, and his students know how to grapple. So we'll really see what that ground game's all about, because Hall is no joke on the ground. Like, he is.
And for Hall, it'll be facing a power puncher who's actually, like, in their prime, you know? You're not facing Gray Maynard or BJ Penn, and you're not facing pure wrestlers like Darren Elkins, but actually somebody who really hits hard and is young and fast and in the prime of their career.
And well-rounded, just really well-rounded. I would love to see that.
Yeah, it'd be a fun fight. For that, Askar Askarov beat Tim Elliott. Really hard-nosed performance from Askarov. Kind of a shocking fight, honestly. I think a lot of people assumed that Elliott would do better standing.
Yeah.
And Askarov would have all the submission threats on the ground. And in reality, Elliott would get the takedowns, and Askarov would mostly get right back up. They had a couple of fun scrambles, but it was just Askarov teeing off on Elliott standing that really ended up being the narrative of this fight.
Yeah, I think there was like a few armbar attempts there from Askarov when Elliott did take down. But, I mean, credit to Elliott for making this as ugly as possible.
Yeah.
He made it the fight he wanted, but he just couldn't get it going on the feet. Even, like, he went Terminator mode. And I hate to see fighters do that. Like, it's kind of fun and novel, but in all reality, when people do that, it's almost like I want to see them get knocked out for doing it.
I know what you mean, like just the walking forward, hands down.
Yeah, like daring them to hit you. It hurts.
Yeah, I mean, Elliott's had this problem for a while now, and it was incredibly notable in this fight. Where like he'll start out really slick and really fast with his movement, bouncing around, jumping in and out of the pocket, doing all sorts of this like sort of weird, hobo Dominic Cruz kind of thing.
It's like the drunken master.
Yeah. And then that gets him really tired, though. And so for the rest of the fight, he's resigned to just plodding forward. And, like, all the footwork and movement is just gone. And then he's just kind of a sitting target. And it's been a bit of a trend for him.
Yeah, he's a weird one. With a weird record, weird everything.
Very. For a dude who gave Demetrius Johnson one of his toughest fights, he's had some shocking losses.
Yeah. Shocking losses, but it's also not. Like, he's so wild and just... It's like he's almost too wild for his own good.
Yeah, I hear you. Still, it made for an entertaining enough fight, you know? Ended up being kind of a shootout with Askarov landing all the power and Elliott just kind of walking forward, trying to do anything he could to put hands on him. Yeah,
it just wasn't enough.
No.
And, oh, man, he got rocked there in that first round. It was like a video game stagger kind of thing.
I almost
clocked.
I almost thought he was, like, I kind of thought he was clowning and, like, overselling it. Like, he was hurt, sure, but then he was trying to get Askarov to rush him so that he could do a reactive takedown. But at the same time, watching it back again, it's like, no, he might have just been out cold for like 5 seconds there.
Yeah, he was definitely out on his feet. Credit to him for being able to recover, though, and instantly start attacking from the bottom.
Yeah. All credit to him. He's tough as hell. Wild fight for Askarov. Pushes him. It's gonna, he's gonna be pushing up this flyweight division in a hurry here. It's kind of fun that, like, he entered the UFC off that draw with Brandon Moreno, and now he and Moreno have both picked up pretty solid wins.
Maybe they'll run it back.
Yep.
Man, that division desperately needs some excitement.
It needs some fighters. It just needs people. Like, it's got 16, 17 fighters in it, and ever since the UFC's like, oh yeah, no, we're not getting rid of it, they haven't done anything with it at all. Literally every fighter in that division right now is booked except Askarov, Elliott, Schnell, and Pantoja, who all just got done fighting each other.
Yeah, that's crazy. What are you going to do, though?
Yeah. That brings us to a lightweight bout. One of the most, I mean, it would have been the most shocking result on the card if Roxanne Modafferi hadn't beat Macy Barber to one-up it.
Mm-hmm.
But Drew Dober absolutely sparking Nasrat Haqparast. And you talked about Barber maybe overlooking Modafferi. I really got the feeling Haqparast overlooked Dober a lot.
Man, I kind of feel like this was like Nasrat, the way he won his last fight, giving him like the illusion that he can do that to anybody, and thinking that Dober wouldn't be able to hang with him on the feet.
Yeah.
And Dober is really like, striking is what he does. Like that's always been his thing.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, that counter, was it a right hand or a left hand? I don't remember, but it was so well timed, gorgeous, elbow up. Like that's how you throw a strike. And then having the killer instinct to pounce right away and pound Nasrat into unconsciousness. Like, man, Dober showed up. Like he showed up.
That's been the big thing. Is it ever? Dober he started out on the regionals. He was always a Muay Thai guy, but he kind of started out as like a light-fisted volume striker. You go back and look at his early record, and he's got a few stoppages and TKOs, but a lot of those are even like second, third round, just like pouring it on until somebody gets exhausted for a win. But lately, since he's been cross-training more and working on his wrestling more, I think he's a lot more fearless about sitting down on his punches, and it's really translated into power.
Yeah, like he's less afraid of being taken down.
Yep. And I think you're talking about how like he, after so much success against Joaquim Silva, he came out thinking he could just do that again. And I think it's partially that, and too, just like, I think he probably respected Joaquim Silva a lot more.
Yeah.
Like, he came out against Silva, and he basically didn't throw anything for the first round. Just really calmly, patiently measured him and, tried to feel his way into the fight. And against Dober, he kind of came out just swinging wild shots.
Yeah, like overconfidence.
Yeah, I really think he just didn't think Dober could hang with him at all. And man, Dober's improved a lot. Really, really shockingly impressive win. Also the kind of win that should maybe earn Dober a top 15 fight. Somebody like Islam Makhachev or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, right there.
Yeah. Like,
I don't want to see him fight Makhachev, though. It's like, I guess we learned a lot about Dober and exactly how evolved his wrestling game has gotten.
Yeah.
But.
Or, I don't know, somebody like right in that area.
I kind of want to see him fight someone that's going to just bang with him, though.
Sure. I mean, Lando Venata and, Yancy Medeiros are fighting soon. He could fight the winner of that.
That's phenomenal.
That would be an absolute war. But I don't know. Like, it just wouldn't also be any improvement. It wouldn't be any reward to Dober for it,
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like if he wants to make any sort of run or like advance in a meaningful way, he's going to have to take those tough fights against the grinders. Like, that's just the nature of the beast. Yeah. And it's just, I almost feel selfish.
Yeah.
It's like the Mike Perry thing. Like, I only want to see Mike Perry fight guys who want to bang it out with him.
Yep. You only want to see these guys in mid-card action fights in the middle of the prelims with some other dude who is going to go nuts for 15 minutes, and they'll both end up bloody and with broken noses, and you'll be like, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I want to see it again next week.
Yeah. It's like, it's crazy. It's like the spectacle versus the sport side of it. Yeah. It's always going to be opposing forces.
That brings us to a light heavyweight bout. Alexa Kamer, Justin Ledet, and man, the commentary booth tried really hard to make everybody believe Justin Ledet was winning this fight, and he just wasn't.
Yeah, so I actually thought that was a little weird because they're like, oh, great round for Ledet. And I'm like, what? He didn't even do anything.
Yeah.
Like, all he did was not get hit.
Yeah.
Like, he threw some good punches here and there and landed a few, but like the volume and the busyness was just not there for him. It was completely going the other way. And credit to Kamer for not completely and totally just gassing out and for not, being like, oh crap, I didn't get this quick knockout. Now what do I do? He stayed true to it. He even got a late takedown there at the end of the fight.
Yeah.
He just kept spamming his combinations and didn't get knocked out. And Ledet just really was in passenger mode, it seemed like, for most of the fight.
Yep. I really honestly do feel like leaving heavyweight was the worst decision Ledet could have made. Like, at heavyweight, he was the only dude with cardio and the only dude with the jab. At light heavyweight, he's like the slowest, least active light heavyweight.
Yeah. And, I mean, he left heavyweight off a win, too.
Exactly. Like, I've never understood this move.
Man. So it's like he went to a division where the better athletes are what reigns supreme.
Yep.
And those athletes are the guys who are in the top 15. They're super athletes. And, Rakic, Walker, and now Kamer, they're all just better athletes.
Yeah. I mean, this division is full of dudes like this. Like, and most of them are better than Kamer. You got Magomed Ankalaev out there. You've got, even guys like Misha Serkinov and, the rest of that division. They're all really big, athletic, fast guys.
Mm-hmm. Nikita Krylov. Yeah. Like, Ledet's just kind of the slowest, most inactive light heavyweight, whereas at heavyweight it was like, oh wow, you're the fastest, most active heavyweight. Yeah, but I mean, he's a very small for heavyweight. He doesn't really have a lot of muscle. He's not exactly chiseled.
No, I know.
So it's a scary division.
To it.
It's a very scary division to be at heavyweight.
Yeah, but he's got the chin for it. That was the other thing. Like, he has a heavyweight chin.
Yeah.
He's just got to go, he's got to get on that big pretty diet, eat his way to 265.
I don't know. Maybe he does need to go back before he loses his job.
Yeah, that day may have already passed, unfortunately.
You think so?
3 straight losses? I mean, the UFC might keep him around just because he's cheap, but they wouldn't be doing it for any other reason.
Yeah. I mean, maybe revisiting heavyweight's the way to go.
Yeah. That brings us to a women's flyweight bout to open the card. Really good, strong fight. Sabina Mazo, JJ Aldrich. Just a tough, absolute back and forth war of a fight. And I think a lot of people feel like Aldrich won it. I know I scored it for her live. I don't think it's a robbery. I didn't have any problem with giving the second round to Mazo. Stats show Mazo outlanding Aldrich 2-1 in every round, so I can't really argue that hard against it. But live, it definitely felt like Aldrich might have snuck it out.
I thought Mazo won. I feel like she was landing the more significant strikes there in 2 and 3. Obviously in 3, but 2. I mean, it was really the knees and the clinch.
Yeah,
they were the biggest wow moments. There was like, oh, yikes, like that hurt,
Yeah.
And so because of that, I feel like that's why I gave it to Mazo. I mean, credit to Aldrich for overcoming that and getting herself off the fence and getting herself out of the clinch. But once she started to slow down and her footwork wasn't there like it was in the opening round, it kind of became a different fight.
Yeah, definitely. tough loss for Aldrich. I mean, it really seems like she's got a good technical base to her game, but she hasn't found enough variety yet. And, it's just like, if you're way outside of kicking range, then Mazzo's the better kicker and she can land kicks on you. And then you're getting into the clinch and she's got the better clinch offense too. And, you're the better technical boxer, but you kind of have to bring something else to the table.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very tough loss, and I'm not even sure how you fix that really at this stage. Just she's kind of just one-dimensional.
She's training out there with Trevor Whitman and all them. I mean, she's got the coaching staff around her to fix it. It'll just be on her to add a better wrestling game or a better.
Wait a minute. She's training with Trevor Whitman.
Yeah.
Is she?
Yeah. She's one of Rose Namajunas' chief training partners.
But that doesn't mean Whitman's training her. Whitman only trains like very few people.
Well, she has been in the past, so I don't know what to tell you here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's been a big part of Rose Namajunas' camps and stuff like that, so.
Interesting. Okay. I know Whitman, he's real weird about the way he or who he trains, like specifically gives his attention to.
Yeah. I mean, maybe she's not getting as much as, some of the other fighters he's taken that time with, but.
Okay. I spoke to him not too long ago, and he said he was only really training Gaethje and Rose. Those are like the only two people that he's dedicating time to.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Then maybe whatever time she spent with him in the past is not happening now, so.
Well, either way, she definitely needs.
She needs more than she's getting.
She needs kicks.
Yeah.
She needs to learn how to kick, especially if she's going to use that footwork to stay on the outside. She needs to add something. She's only dangerous from one range, really, and that's punching.
Yep.
And she does a great job of staying active from the outside, but it's like once she comes in with those strikes, it's like, then what?
Yeah, exactly.
Credit to Mazzo, though.
Yeah, no, credit to her. She looked good. She's picking up wins. She's building a better game that she showed in that initial fight with, what's her name? The Ukrainian, whatever. Let's go back to the main event, talk about that, wrap it up. Conor McGregor beating Donald Cerrone, just absolutely shit-kicked him right out of the gate from moment one. Exactly the performance the UFC wanted, exactly the performance that they and Conor McGregor needed. It's likely going to set up another couple Conor McGregor pay-per-view fights this year, big events for the UFC, kind of things that, ESPN is probably looking at and really hoping drive more buys and subscribers to the network.
The only thing I don't like about that is I feel like when we get Conor headlining, we're going to get more of these boxing-like cards where it's not stacked in any way, shape, or form outside of just the main event.
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, why would if you're the UFC, why would you put anything else on a Conor McGregor card when he sells more than every other combat sports athlete in the world right now except Floyd Mayweather? Yeah.
It's like, a fight night card, but it has Conor McGregor on it, so we're going to make it a pay-per-view and charge you $60 whatever dollars.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that would just mean that they can save more of their other premier talent for other pay-per-views to make them better. But in the meantime, we might be getting two more fights that really two more fight cards that really feature Conor McGregor and not a whole lot else in the near future.
Yeah, but it was great to see Conor return to form and be phenomenal.
Yeah, it's exactly the reminder that fans and the UFC and McGregor all wanted to get, that McGregor as a performer in the cage is still an absolute must-see superstar for a lot of people in this sport. And now they just have to hope that all of his outside the cage legal trouble doesn't catch up to him and change all that.
Yeah, for sure. But man, this was such a breath of fresh air or a sigh of relief, I guess I should say. Because, man, I would have been devastated if Conor came out and lost. And it's not even because I'm a Conor fan. I am. I'm also a Cerrone fan. But, it just makes the sport so much more exciting.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I wouldn't have been depressed if they'd lost. If he'd lost, because it would have just been like the most chaos-inducing, wild nonsense. But it definitely like you know that there are, like I say, automatically with his win that there are 2 more big pay-per-views on the horizon now. 2 more big fights, lots of drama, lots of back and forth. You know, if it's one of them's another Khabib fight, like there's so much, you know, there's so much drama surrounding those two that gets into even sort of frightening territory of sort of ethno-political scraps that it adds a whole air of excitement to the sport just for that. So
yeah.
All right. On that note, though, we're going to wrap things up. You can find me on Twitter at TheZaneSimon, and you can find Eddie on Twitter at TheEddieMercado. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in, and we will be back in just 1 week's time for UFC Fight Night 166 or UFC on ESPN Plus 24, Blades versus Dos Santos at the PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh, go follow my Keyboard to the Cage series where I document my journey leading up to my professional MMA debut on January 31st at SFL 42. It's pretty cool. It's a fun experience. Training camp's super hard, but I'm really learning a lot about what it takes to go through a fight camp and prepare for an MMA fight. So follow along.
Follow along. We'll watch Eddie. I'll cheer for him with his upcoming MMA debut, and we'll see you next time, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.